podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, issue number 85. I am DM Vince, sitting alongside DM Matt.
Hi, everyone.
And DM Will.
What's up?
DM Nick is out this week because we're recording on Father's Day, and he is celebrating Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to him.
Happy Father's Day, Nick.
So let's go right into some reports. People want to hear about conventions and everything. I know I was at a convention, but we'll get to me last, since I'm doing the talking right now. What about you? Been to conventions lately, or Matt?
Who, me?
Oh, me? Outside of Origins, I haven't done any conventions. I've just been kind of sucked into doing, like, local film stuff. I may be doing a film with one of the Sheen brothers, Joe Estevez, the younger brother of Charlie Sheen.
The lesser-known one.
Yes. Apparently they're all from Dayton, but some people I know are making a movie, and I got to text the other day, do you want a part in our movie? I'm like, sure. So
maybe you'll get to meet, like, Emilio or Martin.
Right. Or maybe Charlie will just show up in a completely drunken, drugged-out daze. You never know. Anything's possible.
Yeah. Let him hit you or something so you can sue him or something.
Well,
the guy's wacko.
Yeah. Winning.
Duh. Conventions, Will, you been going to anything lately or not?
Well, I mean, I think I spoke about it last week. I went to the largest historical gaming convention here in the West Coast last month. I went to Enfilade. Next month, we got PaizoCon, which falls during the July 4th holiday week. I forgot what the 4th, let's see, 5th, so it should be the 6th, 7th, 8th, or the 7th, 8th, 9th. I'll be running an event there, or hosting an event there, one of my modules that I ran at other conventions, and I will be participating in another event there. From there, then I got Dragonflight, which is in August, and I keep forgetting about when PAX West is going. I got to find out when that's going, and then I forgot what the other one was supposed to go. There's like two others after that, but they're smaller ones in the area.
Cool. I just recently went to North Texas RPG Con, which was fun, which Will, you have to come down to. You love it.
I probably will.
Well, all the TSR alumni are there, and I got to play in the Jeff D. Villains of Vigilante game, which was
That's
fun.
old school.
But it's the new edition, though, because he's coming out with the third. So
so I thought that for a second that they stopped everything for a while for some issues. What was the deal with that?
With what?
With the Villains of Vigilantes. Wasn't there an issue with the rules? Or I know that there was a cease and desist that went out.
There was something to do with the person that wrote the rules was being a pain and was holding back on Jeff. So we had to actually create a different type of game. But then he actually settled with the person, so he's actually able to produce the third edition, which should be coming out sometime this year, I guess.
Excellent. Villains and Vigilantes, I started... That came out in 80, right? 79, 80?
Around the same time D&D came out, almost.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's when I first got that orange box set, if everyone remembers that. Oh, man, that was the day.
I actually have the second edition box set, which was in nice condition. I got Jeff to sign for me. He was
cool.
like, oh, wow, cool. But the game was really... the third edition rules I don't like too much because there was too much math to do.
They went that route with the mechanics, the math rules? Oh, man.
It was like, yeah, so you can hit this person, but since you're doing this move, you got to minus this. But if you're doing this, you can add this. It was just like, oh, my God. My head was like, oh. It was fun, but there was just too much math to do during the game. Luckily, Jeff did it all, but still it was a pain. Frank Menser was there. Tim Kask was there. Jim Ward was there. They did a seminar on questions and answers, which I sat in on, and it was nice to hear their thoughts and how they started, what they did, and how they got their jobs and things like that. They had a seminar in second edition, which I sat in for 5 minutes, and I wanted to vomit, and I left.
That's hilarious.
But someone asked a question to them, do you think second edition was a slap in the face to Gary? Which I was glad someone actually asked that. And they were like, no, not really. We were just doing our job. So,
Did someone really ask that question?
actually, I think it was Bad Mike that actually runs the convention. He asked us, do you think that was a slap in the face to Gary Gygax when the second edition came out? And they were like, no, we were just doing our job and we were just trying to, make the game better. That's all.
Can they get past all the drama? Good Lord. I mean, let's get past it. The guy's dead. He's deceased. He's in the ground. Let it rest.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, why? Why? After all these years, leave it alone. If all games evolve. They're going to too many editions. It's just the way it is.
I think they were more referencing the fact that they changed everything just so much to just push Gary out so it wasn't his game. How did they feel about that? And they didn't really seem to care, mostly.
I'll be honest with you. If it comes down to anything, if it was a slap in the face, is that they didn't use Greyhawk as the campaign setting.
Well, he was out, and can you blame TSR? They were trying to get away from him as far as possible. So they did.
That whole regime, they had issues. But then again, like I said, hey, that is how business works and everything. They wanted something new. They wanted something fresh. It's like getting that new, like the new Coca-Cola. Remember when they had the new formula for it?
Yeah.
And people, revolted. They resisted and everything. Oh, I mean, like, I'm looking like, it's just Coke.
Crystal clear Pepsi?
Yeah.
Did they have a crystal clear Pepsi?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Crystal Pepsi.
I never knew, so I never knew that.
It didn't last long. Never question the power of nostalgia.
That's what it comes down. I mean, do you remember Tab?
Yep.
Yes.
Did y'all drink Tab?
They still sell Tab.
Yeah, you can still get Tab. You just have to look for it, but you can find it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Tab, but I'm not a soda drinker really per se, but no, it's just like it's old school. If people say they talk about old sodas, I say, well, if you haven't had a Tab, you're not old school.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even brought that stuff out there. Is that all you played was Villains and Vigilantes?
Yeah, because by the time I signed up for the convention, it was like faster than a Gen Con sign up.
Uh-huh.
How many people went this year?
I think it was around 150 to 200.
Oh, that's kind of small.
Yeah, it's a really small convention, but they actually get the big names to come. They had Janelle Jacquez was there.
Oh yeah, how did she do?
Oh, wonderful! She's such a wonderful person to talk to.
I saw some pictures of you.
You did?
Yeah, I saw some pictures online. People were posting pictures, and I think it was the Jeff D game with the Villains and Vigilantes. I believe it's what it was because I believe you were sitting on the right side. I forgot what you was wearing, but you had your glasses on.
Yeah, I was right next to Jeff, probably.
Yeah, I think that's where you was at. See, I remember that. See, I saw.
Yeah, that guy kept taking pictures, which was annoying. But anyway.
I saw Glenn was down there, too.
Yeah, me and Glenn played in the same game for that.
Did he have a black eye still?
No, it was gone.
Boy, he had a shiner.
Yeah, he was wearing his Indiana Jones hat at the time.
That's right. I saw him there. I saw a live feed there, and he was walking by, but I don't know what he was doing. The live feed only carried the video, but no sound, which was lame.
Though I think K&K provided that, didn't they? I don't know. I know the K&K had their own meetup room, and they had beer and pizza in it.
So besides that, you had no other issues down there, huh?
No, I got invited to a Tim Cass game, but at that time I really didn't want to go and play. I was just tired at that point.
Yeah.
And Glenn wanted to play Marvel, so I'm like, let's just play Marvel instead.
You know what? I'll make it an effort to come down next year. I'll put that on my schedule.
Oh, and Full On Gamer made his way down. And he brought
yeah.
He brought BattleTech with him.
Cool.
How'd that turn out?
Massive table. He started at about 1 o'clock. No, a little bit before 1 o'clock. And I left that night at 10:45, and he was still playing the same game from that 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's too long.
Well, the whole point was to get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, like I said, that's too long of a game for me.
They had people tagging in and out of the game. Like, it was one group in the morning, then it was another group, then another group, and then another group. Finally, yeah. I asked him. He finally called it like 1 in the morning, I think.
Wow.
He only made up 3/4 of the way to the mountain, so I was like, "Jeez."
That's funny.
I was like, next time let's shorten that a little. He's like, no way. That's called Blood Mountain for nothing.
Yeah, old BattleTech. I love that. We did a demo of that at Enfilade. And like I said, we just do the demo games, do the nuts and bolts. And like we were talking about today about rules and mechanics. The whole point of doing the demo was just show people how they move, how they fire, and, play, about an hour's worth.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to get into a little bit more, then this is what you need to have. And, we sell out, and that's how we play. This new Call to Arms Star Trek game is like hotcakes. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I'll cover that stuff during the session when we talk, because it covers rules and mechanics.
I wish they would make an actual really good Star Trek role-playing game finally. Yeah. I mean, it's been ignored for the longest time.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to change. I'll be honest with you. And you know what? If you saw me I should post this on the site on the 40% sale that I'm having at the store. We're selling a lot of stuff for 40%. And it's a lot of the old school stuff. So if people want to buy it, this is your chance to get it. This is stuff that has never sold. And what I'm saying is he may have had multiple copies of it. But, but there's some stuff that's never sold.
For example, what would be something that he's selling?
Well, for example, there's a couple Green Ronin products, and we had duplicates of those. We sold all of them, but we just could never sell that last copy.
Like anything from the 80s, or?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Let's see here. No, it's going back the last 5-6 years, at least 6-7 years.
Oh.
So let me give you an example. Like all the Expeditious Retreat modules, they never sold. We couldn't even sell one of them. So we're selling all of those things for 40% off.
Okay.
I mean, the stuff just did not sell. It was not popular. People didn't care for it. And let's just be realistic. There's only one first edition AD&D, and they want first edition AD&D modules.
Right.
That's what they want. They don't want facsimiles of a clone. They're just not attracted to that. It's just not a common thing here.
If they want it, if you're giving it to them for free.
Yeah.
Well, you know how that goes. I mean,
gamers will take anything if it's free, in multiples, just so they can have it.
I would say if they were selling those things for like $1 or $2, I'd be interested in getting them.
Yeah, see, like right now they're going for 40%. So he's selling them. Like I said, he's going to get rid of the stuff. And for example, like Gary Gygax's Canting Crew. As soon as I put that picture up, it was gone in 5 minutes.
Give a link for the website, or
I'll get it up there. It's not a link to the website. It's actually a link to a picture that I took. I went to the gaming store, and I said, what can I do? So I saw it 40% off. I saw a lot of the old stuff like the Osric crap and all that stuff. Yeah. I went ahead and took a picture of all that and just posted up there and said, this is 40% off. What you see is what you get, 40% off.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll hook you all up.
Cool.
All right, yeah, that's fine. We'll put it in the forums, and Matt, you make just direct the podcast notes to that if you can.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to be funny and everything. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yep. Yeah, and when I did an interview with Drive Through RPG at Origins, and they hinted at something that they've been talking with two old school companies, very big names that have not been around for a while, that will be coming back later this year.
Oh, I know who.
There's two of them. There's one. Two. Because I know the one as well. I don't know the other one, and I couldn't get it out of them.
Well, Expeditious Retreat is not an old name. I was thinking them for one.
Right. But the way they were talking, it was like big, huge names, and I'm just like,
the one we already know, but we can't say because we're
right
NDA'd on that one.
Yeah.
But let's try to guess what the other name would be.
Right. I'm like, someone got like the old West End stuff?
No, that's on Lock and Key. Eric will not give that up.
Okay.
I know the owner of West End.
Oh, okay.
He's not selling the company for any amount of money. People have offered him 10, 20, 30, 40,000 for the name. And he won't.
No. He's not going to spend. They're going to have to offer him some, like, 7 figures.
Oh, yeah. Someone will have to.
He's sitting on a gold mine.
He's not sitting on a gold mine. It's just a company name at this point. All the product for West End Game has been sold off.
He sold it off?
Every piece of it.
Oh.
Then get rid of the title. Who needs a title? What's good as a title if you don't have the product?
Only thing I think West End Games still owns was it Jumanji or Jumanji? What was the name of that game?
Jumanji?
That and Torg. Those are the only two titles that are still listed as product on the West End Games, and he owns both those.
Well, blah to that.
Yeah.
I know he's a good guy, but he's not giving up the company.
Yeah. What if someone got some of the old Mayfair stuff that wasn't Rolaids, like Chill or stuff like that?
Okay, now I can tell you this: that Chill is probably going to be re-released, and I think there's some issues out there. I'm hearing from two different parties concerning. I talked to Steve Sullivan, who actually was the creator of the old Chill when they was at Pace Setter.
Yeah.
They made the new edition. I don't think Steve Sullivan. I think and don't take this for granted because I'm certain that's how I read it. It's a financial issue as trying to get that game back into print. But I also spoke to Bill Barsh, who has mentioned before that they're looking into re-releasing Chill. There's something going on out there. I don't know what it is, but I do know Chill would love to see a re-release of the old material.
Yeah.
Well, let's see other companies. Well, Mayfair obviously is still in business, but they're in board game business now.
Right, and Mayfair, that's actually Iron Crown Productions bought Mayfair, which in turn turned into Mayfair, the board game company. So they're actually Iron Crown.
Right, so forget about them. I was thinking when you said that maybe FASA, but...
Yeah, because, well... Battletech and Shadowrun, they're locked up because Topps owns the license.
Do they now?
Yeah. Catalyst Game Labs actually licensed Battletech and Shadowrun from Topps because WizKids bought that.
That's right.
And then
it was WizKids, Mech Warrior, and all that crap. Yep.
Yeah. WizKids actually owned it. Then they were bought by Topps. When Topps dissolved WizKids, they kept all the intellectual property. The WizKids that restarted only got the HeroClix and like the pocket models. They did not get BattleTech and they did not get Shadowrun.
And they didn't get Pirates either.
No.
Don't they own Robotech too?
No, Robotech is Harmony Gold, owns it, and they license it to Palladium.
Yeah, and there's a big issue going on now with that stuff because there was another game supposed to come out, and they was trying to get with Simbera from Palladium.
Yeah.
And that all blew up. Yeah, that
Palladium's
was
a wacky company. That's all I can say.
Well, I feel sorry for the guy because his partner took all that money. Oh, and not took all the money, but sold all that product.
Right? Yeah, it was like $100,000.
Oh my God, it was horrible.
Then it just really hurt the company bad. But it seemed like they recovered. But there's always something. There's always someone in that group that has some sort of like cancer or just like their house burned down. It's just like they're cursed in some ways. I mean, so it's just.
I wonder if it's Gygax Games.
Oh.
Because I was talking to Gail recently about a couple things, and she's like, just look out on the horizon for something. And that's all she told me.
Oh, that's a possibility.
So, I don't know if maybe she was just saying it to throw me off or to get rid of me or something, but maybe that's the company. But that's not really a big, like it's Gygax, so it could be.
Yeah.
Maybe Drive-Thru considers that's a big name.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, though, that I know that Bill Webb bought Necromancer Games.
Okay.
And that now falls under Frog God Games, so now they're together as a company.
About time.
So what's going to happen is, it's no surprise to me that Bill Webb, hopefully, if it all works out fine, hopefully they'll re-release everything that came under the old Necromancer games and gets that all released for Pathfinder. And of course, if they release it for Pathfinder, they're going to release it for Swords and Wizardry, hopefully.
Yeah.
On the Tritax system.
The Tristat
system.
Oh, Guardians of Order. They're long defunct.
I know that maybe that's another company to consider.
No, the way they were sounding, it was like big names of the 80s. I'll put a link to the interview so people can just read the exact quote itself.
Yeah,
but yeah, it seemed like they were talking big games of the 80s.
Well, it could be a board game company too, for all we know.
True. Maybe they're going to do print and play of all the Avalon Hill board games.
Oh, they already done that, my friend. They already done that. I mean, the only one that's left right now is Fortress America, and that's supposed to be released here in the next month or so.
No, I'm talking about like the old bookshelf games.
Oh, those? Good Lord.
Yeah. If I'm like weird enough, I would actually kind of enjoy that, especially when it comes to having an ability to print out replacement parts for just if I'm missing a chit or something. I would so rebuy the games in electronic format just for that.
Okay, cool. Well, let's just go into sage advice. Let's not speculate about that anymore.
Master! They're at the gates again! Master! It looks like another band of adventurers!
Adventurers again? Always the same. Coming to me for sage advice.
I mean,
They're still around. So
they're still around.
This is someone that's coming back.
Well, let me tell you, that company is treading some serious water right now, my friend.
Yeah.
They're hurting.
Okay, I'm recording, so we're ready for Sage Advice whenever. So 5, 4, 3, 2.
Sage advice. All right, this week we have a couple emails, and you can email rfistaff@gmail.com or call 570-865-4210 for the hotline. First email up this week comes in from John into DM Will, but Will spelled with one L. So I guess you're Will Wheaton now.
That's awesome. Thank you.
He says, in podcast 77, you mentioned how awesome WG5 Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure was. I've recently been searching for it, and I've never had a chance to play it. My question to you, have you played WG6, Isle of the Apes, and how does it compare to WG5? John.
Whoa, awesome question. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure is just an awesome adventure. Great dungeon. There is just some good stuff in there. Isle of the Ape ran that 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9 times during that time period. Isle of the Ape is a decent module. I don't think it's as great as Mordenkainen's Greatest Adventure. I just don't think it is. The ape itself, he's huge. He's gigantic, and he'll waylay a party. Did none of you all play this module before?
I've never played it. No.
Oh, okay. It's, basically, I remember when it first came out, it wasn't a top-selling module to begin with, because when I went to the store, they had 3 there. I bought 1, and it stayed there forever. It is a decent adventure. It's an outdoors adventure. That's one good thing that Mordenkainen's was not, because that was all inside the dungeon there and everything, and dealing with all that stuff and all the horrible traps and everything. But the Isle of the Ape was mostly an outdoor adventure and everything. You have to deal with all that stuff. But overall, it's still a decent adventure, but it's not one of my favorites.
Okay.
I mean, great modules if you can tie them all in together and everything. I wish I knew about this email. I would have got down and point out some of the highlights in there. But I believe there was a way that you didn't have to actually fight the giant ape on there. I even forgot how many hit points he has. I believe he has 350, if I remember correctly.
Didn't you do a review of WG5 on our forums?
No, not yet. As a matter of fact, I'm working on the UK series as we speak now, because I want to get those done. This will take about a week to get those done, and then I'm going to work to the U series. But I have no problem doing the WG series, because a lot of people have been asking about those particular line of modules, and I will gladly go in great detail with Isle of the Ape.
And if no one has read them, if you go to our osrgaming.org forums, Will does an in-depth breakdown analysis of it, and he'll break it down and tell you what he thinks about each section, what had to improve it and everything, and his thoughts on what to do here and there, what's wrong, what's right. It's a really good breakdown.
Yeah, I try my best to it, especially when someone gives me advice on those particular type of modules, especially the ones that are rarely run or a lot of people have never seen in their entire life. I mean, they're great modules. Some of them need some some serious, rewriting on them. Just do what you got to do. But either way, just the thing with Owl of the Ape, though, I'm telling you, you got to read that module. You got to keep track of the players from when they're moving from point A to point B to point C, because there can be a lot of confusion in it. Because that's almost like it's not really too much of a railroad per se, but if the players need to go north and they decide to go east, well, then you got to work that way around.
Okay. Sure.
Good to go.
Next one comes in from DM Dan. Now, RFI hosts, have any of you adventured in, is that Lankmar City of Adventure? Am I pronouncing that right? Lankmar, Lankhmar?
Yeah. Yes.
This was a wonderful resource book that was used in an adventuring group when I was back in the early 90s. I would hope you would consider doing a segment about it and the places to go, people to meet, and things to do. This is the best place there was. The best place there was the Rat's Nest, as well as running into the infamous Thieves Guild and Assassins Guild that controlled the city. Thanks, DM Dan. I have never played, and like I said, I've never been a module person. All the DMs I had were always homebrew DMs.
Oh.
So yeah, I missed out on all the modules growing up.
Yeah, it's like I have a couple modules in Lankmar, but they're all second edition ones. I've never actually played in it, though.
Wow. Well, I do have all the Lankmar stuff downstairs and everything, and it's like great supplemental material.
Is it first edition or is it second edition?
First edition. Lankmar City of Adventure was out in 1985.
Okay.
Yeah, that's old school stuff right there. That's old stuff.
It was updated in 93 for second edition, and then in 2006, Mongoose took Lankmar and made it part of Rune's Quest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was the Gray Mouser?
Is that a superhero?
The New Adventures of Fahar and the Gray Mouser, that was a box set that replaced the Lankmar City of Adventure.
That's what I thought. The Gray Mouser and Fafford, or whatever his name is in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That was an introductory box set, wasn't it? It had like very basic rules in it for second edition.
Yeah. It was like a simplified beginner's box set. So it's like
anyway, sure, we'll pull out the Lankmar City of Adventure and do maybe a little analysis on it or something.
I have no problem with that and everything. Like I said, it's mostly, if I used any of that material, it's for supplemental material only and everything. But I never actually ran a true Lankmar campaign of any kind. But there is a lot of material out for that. At least 2 dozen. I would say at least 2 dozen. Oh, not 2 dozen. Maybe a good dozen, a dozen and a half supplements.
Yeah, and then it was also actually first a board game, though. There was a Lankmar board game released by TSR in 1976.
Yeah, that stuff's old.
Yeah, because you played the Grey Mouser, Molvar, Movarl, Fahard, and Pol. As I totally butcher all the names, and you lead the forces of one of the powers of Nuhon in an effort to capture the opponent's citadels.
Use the force, man.
Yes. Enunciate, conjugate the verbs.
Well, you can't, conjugate and enunciate when they ain't got no vowels inside the name.
We will have a 6-letter name. There should only be 1 vowel. The rest will all be consonants.
No, but I have no problem talking about Lankmar. Lankmar has a lot to offer. If, like I said, if you do a sandbox thing and you're not using any particular campaign setting, we could talk about Lankmar. There's a lot of material in Lankmar.
Okay. Yeah. God. Words and names. I forgot about that. You just flashed me back to when I was at Gen Con last year, sitting down at the game, and some guy claimed that he wrote the book on how to speak Romulan language. I was like, oh, God.
Kapla! Oh, that's Klingon. I'm sorry. Yeah, I never could understand those people.
He showed me some book that he hand wrote and everything, and it was like every word was like 1,000 consonants with no vowels in it. And I was like, how the hell you pronounce that?
Well, you know how bad it is that this was so long ago that I went to this one convention. There was a guy that everything he put down, that was college. That was what it was when I went to that gaming convention. There was a guy that went to college, and every time he put a date on his homework, he would put down star date. and then put down the star date, number, and everything. I said, dude, you need to stop that mess. I can't stand them.
I bet the teacher really loved that.
There's something wrong with Trekkies. No offense, I love Star Trek, but I'm not a Trekkie.
I'd say I'm a Trekkie, but I wouldn't go as far as dressing up and, putting Stardate on my paperwork.
Well, it was classic when, William Shatner told him to go get a life.
Yes, that was.
He was telling the truth.
He was getting mad at that point.
Yeah, he was. I don't know.
Last one comes in from just SP. And he basically says, Wicked Podcast. He must be from Boston. Wicked. For the
Wicked.
He basically says, our personalities remind him of some of the guys he used to play back with in his game. He says we should get a chick on the show, and that's how he wrote it, a chick, for at least one episode to recount her first dealings with RPGs and gamers. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can get some hosts. I mean, some guest people here, that are females, and that's funny because not too long ago on Facebook, I should send you all the link to this. This was very interesting. That there was a young lady. She set up a Kickstarter so she could do some research on women and the gaming industry, or gaming in general, and so on. And it was, I saw the comments left behind, and it was absolutely stunning how people treated her. It was horrible.
Really?
Yeah.
I have no idea what these people were thinking or what they was trying to prove. This lady was just trying to do some research on how gaming and women in gaming throughout the years and the stereotypes and all that. Oh, it was just... Go ahead.
What did she need money for to do research?
Well, I don't know what. Well, it was just a Kickstarter thing, and it wasn't like she was wanting tens of thousands of dollars. It was to help do some of the traveling expenses and all this other stuff that required her to do research and meet with people, because for some people it costs. But I have no clue. I didn't read the whole thing into it, but it was just. I see where she was trying to go, but it was just that her audience was horrible. It was like they treated her very poorly.
Yeah, I've heard similar experiences from some female friends of mine that had played in RPG sessions or game sessions at conventions. They will go there, they'll play their game, and the other guys there will assume, hey, that they don't know the rules. Oh, you're just here because you're your boyfriend or whatever. It's like, I've never grasped that either. It was just, I'm like, really?
I had a group that was all female, and it was me and my friend that were the only guys in it before. So
yeah, it was funny with my current RPG group. It was actually originally the group was gathered by a female friend of mine, and the other guys in it had told me after she'd moved to New York and left the group that when we first started gaming together, they had no idea how to game with a girl, and I'm like, why would it be different than gaming with a guy? I'm just like, that type of mindset never even crossed my brain. I'm just like, I never thought of treating gaming with a girl different than gaming with a guy.
Okay. And he goes on to talking about the planes. That was his first episode that we did. Thinks we should probably go back and touch upon it again. Obviously, we weren't done with it. We were just, revisiting it yet again. That was our second visit to the plains.
I'm glad to go back for a third visit.
Yeah, we did one a long time ago with Jeff Grubb when he was on the podcast. We talked about the plains, which was a fun show to do. Jeff and Jason geeked out on that one. Was that before you met, or were you around then?
No, I didn't come around till issue 27. I think that was like 19 or 17 or something like that. No,
I know Nick was around because Nick was also in the geek out. It's just like, I like Jeff Grubb and his work, but I wasn't geeking out over the planes.
Yeah.
He did his usual thing, go against the Norse and Greek gods, talk about the angel-devil intrigue, and then he says, keep up the good work. Can't wait to listen to more shows. And then he puts a link to he put like a D6, but it's Roll a D6, that video, that song.
Yeah. Yes, the short-lived intro for Save or Die.
Yeah. We actually used it for a while for Save or Die because it was so funny. But, thanks for the link. We like that song. And that's all the advice we have this week. I guess we'll head into Table Matters.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember back in the day
a fella knew how to judge a fireball on the fly and how far the cleric could push the undead he turned. I tell you, with all these min-maxers and munchkins, metagame and power game, there's something missing that I'm here to learn you. Now sit down and crack your book while I commence to teach you some.
Table manners.
And now we're in Table Manners, and this show, we're going to have a more sci-fi feel to it, because we're going to actually discuss using first edition AD&D rules, but using it for a sci-fi game. Actually reskinning the system, the characters, the monsters, the items, and playing something with a more sci-fi feel, because really, if you strip away all the fantasy, it's still a really good game system, and you shouldn't feel pigeonholed by fantasy just because that's the coat of paint they put on it.
It's very easy to reskin these things. And Will, you can't talk for 10 minutes because the last podcast everyone complained it was 75% Will. So
That's why I'm not saying nothing.
They said on Facebook it was 75% Will, 25% the rest of the cast. So
That didn't sound right.
I know he was joking about that, but
I know he was. That's why I was laughing. I said, well, next time I promise I won't say nothing.
Go ahead, Adam.
But anyways, first we're just going to talk about the character classes. I mean, when you think fighter, thief, cleric, magic user, monk, and assassin, you don't necessarily think sci-fi right away. I mean, some of them lend themselves more easier than others. Like the fighter can easily just be a soldier in some space military, or just like the general thug at a bar. That really doesn't change. The fighter, you don't really need to do a lot to make that sci-fi. As for like the thief, I could easily see the thief instead. Yeah, they can disable all these traps and pick locks. But in a sci-fi game, they're all electronic. He's really good about disabling electronic devices, sneaking around, avoiding detection in regards to these sci-fi devices. Again, it's a fairly straightforward conversion. If we go to like some of the subclasses, like the assassin's another easy one. It's a spy who goes and assassinates people. They have those in sci-fi as well. It's not something you're only going to see in a fantasy realm. And they would still be using poison instead of being like herbal concoctions or more chemical based, and maybe he has to stick a syringe into the person to inject them.
Or he could upload a virus somewhere.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, you not even think about just people, computers uploading viruses as well. I mean, you could even throw that into with the thief. Just use some of the percentiles for disable device. He's disabling a computer system by uploading a virus. That's the fleshing out. Mm-hmm. Now, when you get to your magic user and cleric, however, depends on what type of sci-fi you want. Do you want to have like a Jedi type? Then it's pretty easy to use clerics and magic users. If you want to have that mystical universal power that certain people train in and that they can use. It's pretty easy to explain away if you have like the Force.
The Schwartz.
Yes. May the Schwartz be with you. And also at that point, you also have your magic items as well. So you'll have your Schwartz rings that all of them will have and do battle with.
Well, I was thinking for mage, magic user, and cleric, you can just say they're high tech or devices.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Instead of that, every night spending hours studying their books, they're building things. Yeah, they're building these little devices that are just one-off devices. Their spell components are actually the parts to build it, and their spell book is just a book of blueprints.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You're not allowed to say.
Let me add just my 2% here.
Okay.
Babylon 5. Have you all watched Babylon 5?
Yeah, I have.
You remember the episode with the techno mages?
Yes.
With the bald-headed guy, that was Michael and Sarah. Mm-hmm. He played a phenomenal techno mage, and it was funny how he explained how the magic and the technology, the science fiction technology, works together to create the magic. It was really interesting.
Right. You could even take it into like a Shadowrun type.
Yeah.
As well.
I was going to say, look to Shadowrun for really good examples how to transfer fantasy over to sci-fi.
Right. Yeah, because they even have demi-human races. You have your trolls, you have your elves, you have your dwarves, and that blends actual magic with technology. Mm-hmm. It just really depends on what's your sci-fi flavor of choice, and you could easily build from there.
Yeah, true. It just all depends on what you want to do. I mean, most people will probably grab like a Shadowrun type game because that's the easiest, or maybe Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I forgot all about them. Just thinking about Cyberpunk might be a good idea to look at too.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. But if you wanted to pull out the magical elements, it's possible. It's not that hard with a little bit of thought. I mean,
right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, now that we kind of graced upon that, how do you explain races?
Well, races, different. You could easily say different planets.
Mutations?
Yeah, you could do mutations as well. It just depends on if you want to involve space travel. All the different races have their own planet. There's a planet of dwarves. There's a planet of elves. There's a planet of half-elf. Well, the half-elves are the crossbreeds. When the elves went out to the world and started breeding on other planets, it's easy to explain that. Or if you want to go with a Shadowrun, cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic type experience, mutations.
Yeah, basically people with pointy ears are just humans that mutated into something a little more different that have like an extra ability. They can hear better or something.
Right. You could you could even seek some ideas from the Rifts. That's both.
Yeah. Sure. By Palladium, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's lots of examples of it, and so it's not going to be hard. It's just, I think the biggest thing is, what is your sci-fi flavor of choice? Do you want interplanetary travel, or you want to focus more on one planet and have it be high-tech, low magic, high-tech, high magic? I mean, there's different options.
Or you could just grab Gamma World.
Yeah. True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But a lot of people haven't really played Gamma World, and I know a lot of people haven't even heard of Gamma World back then. So
I don't have it, but I do have the Gamma Marauders board game.
Okay.
Based off Gamma World.
That's cool.
Yeah, I haven't actually played it, though. It was put out by TSR, of course, and I found it at half-price books for like $10. I'm like, this is interesting. But you basically have your like mutant creatures, and you're doing battle in Gamma World.
I was busy when Gamma World was out. I was busy playing Twilight 2000. So that was my post-apocalyptic world type thing going on.
Yeah, and really, you could even do something like a Twilight 2000 with these rules too. Mm-hmm. It's not super sci-fi, but it is post-apocalyptic. You could easily do like a Mad Max game with the rules. I mean, it's really the biggest hurdle is your genre of sci-fi.
Yeah, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, just to hit on like some of the other classes, I like the Paladin. I see that as like a commissioned soldier. And his healing ability is the little doohickeys, whatever group he works for, gave him to heal.
Republic Guard.
Yeah. I mean, so don't let the overwhelming fantasy of D&D dissuade you from trying out a sci-fi game.
Well, I like to add this part down, since we're talking about, characters and types of gear and everything. Remember Expedition into the Barrier Peaks?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the greatest examples of how you can get a group of characters that is all fantasy related, go into this mysterious structure of this strange door that's made of metal, and then encountering all the alien weaponry, the alien armor, and all the technology and everything. Of course, you would have to word it in a way to where that's how the player characters are going to imagine it. For example, you don't tell them that you just found a laser gun. You just tell them this device, and that is a great module right there to give a player who's thinking of trying to get a science fiction feel to a fantasy related game, and from there on he can branch out and root out. Says, I like this. I'm going to make a flow chart, but on how to operate certain things. And of course, if you all remember the old flow charts, if you found a weapon or whatever.
Right.
If you roll the wrong number, you blow up, or you get, whatever, disintegrated. But look into that, and I would also say look into Star Frontiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Star Frontiers uses the same rules, and we're going to cover this real soon, for, D&D.
Right. And then during Fantasy Flight actually put out Dragonstar, which was like sci-fi mixed with fantasy.
Yes.
So you could even pull that, and wouldn't take much to convert that to first edition either.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's also you can grab the clone. What's the clone? Mutant Future too, as well.
Yeah.
Paranoia?
What?
I thought you was talking about Paranoia.
Paranoia too, as well. Yeah, but Mutant Future, and you can pick up the Thunder the Barbarian supplement that came out. That is perfect for sci-fi fantasy. That someone did for free. I can't think of it. Savage Worlds blog, I think it's called. He put out the Thunder Barbarian supplement. So you can go look that up.
Okay.
And I guess that wraps that up. Since Will said the okay, that means we're going to go into game.
No. It was actually pretty good there. I was thinking about that. What was that one show where those people rode the dinosaurs?
Oh, Land of the Lost?
No, not Land of the Lost. It was a cartoon.
Oh.
Yeah.
They had the pterodactyl that shot bullets. No, they had that.
Flintstones?
No. It was. Oh my Lord, what was it called again? You all know what I'm talking about. They had two stupid monsters that looked like Jello monsters. Then they had the pterodactyl. They had the rock monkey. Herculoids. That was what it was.
Yes. That was way before Matt's time.
Yeah, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You never heard of the Herculoids?
Oh, Herculoids. Yeah, actually, I have heard of them. I haven't watched it, but I have heard of Herculoids.
Makes me and you, Will, we're really old then, huh?
Yeah,
I'm only 2 years younger than you, Vince.
Well, that's right, yeah.
I was hoping you would say you was 2 years younger than me, but now thank you for reminding me that I'm old.
Grandpa. All right, game mechanics up next, and that'll be Will talking.
Oh man, what the heck is that?
Stand aside, you fool! I have a spell that will work here!
What do you mean I can't hit with that? Oh, right, fine. Show it to me in the book.
Welcome to Game Mechanics.
Yes, and today on Game Mechanics, we're going to talk about what kind of rules to change and what kind of rules to design when it comes to converting a fantasy game into a science fiction game. What do you take into consideration? And guys, you can jump in at any time I'm talking, because I know that y'all have some input in this as well. Okay, woo! You know, when this episode came up and everything, we talked about what rules to change. And I take a look at D&D and I said, like, I want to make a science fiction game. What would I change? Well, personally, I'm just going to tell you straight right now. If I wanted to create a science fiction game based on first edition rules, I would get rid of magic as a whole.
Okay.
I would also get rid of clerical spells. Because when it comes to science fiction, we're dealing with a whole spectrum of weird things. So let's talk about the clerical spells, for example. I think that if you had characters that, and this is going to sound kind of weird. Let's say characters got exposed to some type of radioactivity, and then that gave them the ability to now heal people. See, that's how I would, substitute that process there when it comes to them kind of rules. So no longer would there be rules concerning deities and giving the clerics spells. These characters that have these healing abilities, one, either get it from that they was exposed to a certain type of radiation, or two, they are a race that are naturally imbued with that special ability to heal. And so in cases like that, you would have to design new rules for a healing type of class to replace the cleric, the priest, maybe even the paladin, for example. They have some minor healing abilities. So that would be some of the rules I would change on that per se.
Well, a cleric, you could probably say he's a medical doctor or some type.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you know, you could do it like that too as well. Definitely. You know, and what I'm trying to do is not try to replace the whole fantasy element of the game itself. I mean, this can go into great detail. So let's start from this. I would look at a lot of the other science fiction games, Star Trek, and then you brought a great example of it, or Star Wars, where you had your medical doctors, or you had medical droids, or something like that. Yes, that's easy to say. Or if you look at Battlestar Galactica, or even Buck Rogers and everything. I mean, look at Battlestar Galactica. When you look at that compared to those other shows, I'm thinking like, wow, those guys in Battlestar Galactica were really primitive compared, you know, to like Star Trek and Star Wars and Buck Rogers. I mean, Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica could be up on the same level as far as technology and everything. So I look at the rules and everything. When you do a game, like say, well, how will, and like you said, Matt, if this is interstellar travel and everything, how would they travel around? So now we have to take a look at what kind of technology is available to these races and everything. Traveler. Have you all played Traveler before?
Traveler, yeah.
Okay. In Traveler, they don't have warp capability.
No, they don't.
They don't have that warp capability like they did in Star Trek. And in Star Wars, I don't really think they had warp capability, did they?
They had hyperdrives.
Yes, I don't know what the difference is between...
Well, hyperdrive is more like just taking like an expressway.
Yeah, it's like... It's not like they're traveling from... Oh, how can I say it? From one system to another. The systems might have been very close. I mean, it's like traveling... I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain that.
A warp drive is you're in point A, you instantaneously go to point B. A hyperdrive, however, takes you A all the way to B. You travel along the path at a very high rate of speed.
Oh, okay.
So it's the difference between being there instantaneously and actually have to travel. With a hyperdrive, you can travel across the universe, but it's still going to take some time.
Yeah.
Whereas with a warp drive, you're instantaneously there.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, you know, and of course, if the distance was longer as far as warp drive was concerned, it would take longer to get there. The same thing as hyperdrive. I think the only reason they changed these words and everything is for copyright and all that other stuff, you know, and all that stuff. But, like, you know, Battlestar Galactica, I don't recall any of that in there, and neither did I recall that in Buck Rogers. So, you know, it all depends on what kind of game do you want. Do you want a serious technological game where it's so advanced like Star Trek and Star Wars? I mean, even weapon-wise, I honestly can't tell you who was more powerful than the other as far as Star Wars or Star Trek is concerned. But I will tell you this, though. In Star Wars, their ships were larger.
Yeah. And Battlestar Galactica was just jumps. They jumped from one sector to the next.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Battlestar Galactica, they just jumped, you know, from one place to another. It was really kind of, I'm not saying it's lame, but it was very primitive. But I know the ships in Star Wars were way huger than those in Star Wars because, in Star Trek, because I saw, there's a chart online that you can look up. Them Super Star Destroyers are huge.
Yeah, they're small planets.
Yeah,
in size.
Exactly. And I could imagine how many people was on one of those compared to like the Enterprise, which only had 1,000 or something people on there, 1,100 people.
Yeah, it's like the SDF-1 from Robotech, where it had like 50,000 people on it, that entire city.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what the whole point is. So what rules to change, you know, what rules to design? So you have to go back to a lot of rules to say, what do I want? What do I want to use? What do I want to remove? How can I not make this like Star Wars or Star Trek? Well, I mean, it's difficult to do that because, I mean, I think almost everything has been covered science fiction-wise. Start with Star Frontiers. I think that is your best bet is to go to Star Frontiers, buy the basic box. I think there were 3 box sets, and there was like some modules and some other stuff like that. Take a look into Star Frontiers. One, the easy part is already done. Already it's been converted. It's already first edition rules applied, you know, as far as the stats. strength, con, dex, and all that. If I'm remembering correctly, if I say otherwise, please correct me. But I believe that all the stats were still the same. Am I correct?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, I figured it was, because I mean there were some still things with movement, and all this other stuff, and they had the different races. They had the Yazirians, the Dralicites. What were the other ones again?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, I can't remember the names right now for the life of me. I just forgot them. I know what they look like, but I can't remember the names right now. But you can still have humans, and I don't think they had any of the fantasy races per se, like elves and dwarves and everything. But there's nothing wrong with doing that.
The Dragonites,
those are the shapeshifters.
They had the insect race.
Oh, that's right.
And the race like apes, I can't pronounce it. The Uzarian.
Yeah, the Yazirians were the flying monkey ones, but I couldn't remember the insect ones. Yeah, that's right. See, excellent. But start with there. Once you get a good feel for that, then jump to Spelljammer. And I think Spelljammer is the best place to start. And their way of traveling through the cosmos was unique compared to all the other science fiction, genres that I was talking about. If you all know about Spelljammer and Spelljamming ships.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're all familiar with that. I don't know. Matt, what about you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have several. I have the 2 box sets and some of the other supplements for Spelljammers.
And there you go. And right there, you have a very good base right there of creating your own science fiction game by looking at stuff. Now, if you want to change the weapons around, and like I said, I mentioned before, Expedition into the Barrier Peaks, which, for all intents and purposes, is a crashed spaceship, and the player characters are examining or exploring this area. And it's kind of funny how the descriptions are given in there, not to lead off that it is a spaceship or what have you. But then don't forget also the spaceship. I don't know if it was a spaceship per se, but I think that's what they called it in Q1, Queen of the Demon Web Pits.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people forgot about that. I don't know if it's actually a spaceship, but they kind of describe it as a spaceship.
They kept referring to it as ship.
Yeah, they keep referring to it as a ship, but I don't know if she used that to travel around in the 666 layers or whatever she does with the thing. But again, it's another ship. And there's a couple other adventures out there that has to deal with a spaceship or you know what? I'm trying to think of it. Matt, Night of the Comet. Was that the supplement? It was a box set, Night of the Comet. I'm just trying to think of it off the top of my lung. Oh my goodness, I can't remember what it was. And I'm not talking about the movie, but there was a D&D box set that has something to do with the comet, with a comet crashing down, and all that stuff.
What is that?
So the whole point of what I'm trying to get to is what rules to change. Well, like I said, it all depends on what kind of game you're trying to make. Are you trying to make it a very high advanced science fiction game or a low technical kind of science fiction game? Like Alternity. And I know a lot of people know about Alternity. It was a D20. This is where the return where Wizard Coast wanted to bring a science fiction element game back into the D&D kind of setting you in those rules, and they came up with Alternity.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Remember Alternity? And that was very interesting. It was a great concept. I don't have no problems with Alternity as a science fiction RPG. I thought it was really well done. It just... I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's a great demand for it, or maybe people are tired of it or something. But a lot of people didn't buy off into that Alternity game, which is kind of sad. I thought it was pretty good. Gamma World was good. Take the best out of those games and try and convert it into something that you would feel comfortable with. But I think your best base is starting off with Star Frontiers, then go to Spelljammer as far as how to get around through the cosmos. You would have to get away from the spelljamming, ships and the helmets, the spelljamming helmets, right, and all that.
Yeah, Yeah, instead of making them propelled by magic, they're propelled by science. I mean, it's not that hard of a fix.
It's not hard at all. It's real simple, and it's going to take a lot of work. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not something that can be done in a day. This something will take a lot of time, especially if you're trying to design your own rules. And so I mean there would be so many things I would change. It would be impossible to discuss each change. But like I said, personally, there would be no more clerical spells per se. The deities are not involved. We're talking about science fiction, and not to be dismissive of religion in a science fiction game, but if you look at Star Trek and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, and most of those science fiction movies, you find out they don't even really talk about it.
Well, with Star Wars has the dark and light of the Force,
right?
So it you can kind of call that religion, and that's the closest they have really to religion.
Yeah, I was going to get back to that, when it comes to that. But again, I look at it as a force that is manipulated by special people that have that ability to manipulate that force. And yeah, I see what you're saying. Then I saw the big thing on George Lucas, and some people wrote the book on like it's an actual true religion. The moment it goes off the deep end like that, I avoid that kind of stuff.
It is actually recognized as a religion in the UK, however. They had enough people on the census put their religion as Jedi Knight that it became a real religion.
Oh, my Lord. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at it. It's just the concept, I guess. I don't know.
They actually offer classes on it and everything.
Say again?
They offer classes on becoming a Jedi as well.
Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a college here now in the United States that offers a college degree in Jedi Meditation 101.
Oh my God!
You can learn the Jedi philosophies. You can learn how to meditate like a Jedi, how to fight like a Jedi, and how to control your inner anger and stuff like that. So,
okay, all right. I think I'll just stick to painting and putting miniatures together. And oh man, I tell you. But I look at all these games now. Babylon 5 had a very deep religious thing in there. If you all knew that, if you watched Babylon 5, you get the feel for that stuff and everything. But definitely, yeah, I would pull out the religious overtones out of the fantasy side, remove that completely from the science fiction element, because in most cases, I'm just saying the science fiction element probably, how can I say it, dismisses that knowledge as just being mythology and so on like there. But of course, nothing wrong saying that that you can still have those elements inside the game. Nothing wrong with saying that. That would make a special type of race that would do that. That's how they would channel their energy.
Right. You could have some primitive races that they have it more of a divine power source, right, if you will. So.
But see, now what I look also into Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
Call of Cthulhu, because if a lot of people don't know that much about Call of Cthulhu as far, how would that apply in a science fiction game? Well, it applies a lot, because if you look into it, most of them are alien entities. Mind flayers, aboleths, Cthulhu himself, all of them are alien entities. They're alien entities. I don't consider them supernatural. That's how, and it's kind of weird how you look into this stuff and everything about rules change and what rules design. Look at that system, as a matter of fact, with Call of Cthulhu. That would make for a very interesting science fiction game using that kind of rules on their mechanics. I think it'd be more simpler than first edition AD&D, honestly. If you look at Call of Cthulhu, really, I would really look at that. And if you take a look at those weapons, they hardly could do any damage to those alien entities and everything. Like the guns and the shotguns, they really don't have no impact on it. So I mean, it depends on what your flavor, what you kind of want. If you want like that, the horror. How about the Alien science fiction game?
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to play that down there?
No, I did not actually.
Chance to play that. Yeah, take a look at these games and look at the board games. Look at a lot of the science fiction board games. And I'm not talking about like Star Trek or Star Wars and stuff. There's a lot of other science fiction board games that give you a lot of ideas on how to create your own races with their own special abilities.
I know one. The Men in Black game by West End Games.
There you go. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep, I forgot about that game too. Yep, see? There's so many out there and everything. So then, what would be the purpose of the science fiction game? Is what the whole issue is when you decide the rules and how to design. It just you have to have a seriously imaginative mind, and just take from all elements if you want to. Start from the very basics, and then from there on, work on. I mean, like you all mentioned, Cyberpunk, Shadowrun. You even talked about Mad Max. How about Logan's Run?
Yes.
Yep.
I think Logan Run has a lot of great science fiction elements, to do in a fantasy game. You can't even leave the planet. Let's start with that. There is no spaceship travel.
Right.
Everyone went into those big bubbles or whatever to protect themselves. The environment is destroyed, and after 200-300 years and everything, you are I'm not saying everyone has to be the same race or background, but what happens is all of you escape to say that you don't want to die at 30 because everyone gets killed at 30, at the age of 30 or whatever it was,
right.
And but you all escape from your bubble and you go out into the real world, and now you're exploring the new world that hasn't been, seen in like 3, 4, 500 years. And now you're dealing with the element. What was his name again? The Thundar, element.
Yeah. Or you could even take a Matrix approach. You start the game in typical fantasy D&D world, then something happens and they get unplugged, and their consciousness is actually in the real world, which is actually more of a science fiction.
There you go, yeah.
So you could even jump between the two, taking an approach like that.
That's kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, just to give you an understanding, now this is funny, I haven't brought this up in a long time, but if you're all familiar with the Scarred Lands campaign.
Yes.
And that was the one where, all the gods fought among themselves, the Titans and the gods, and it was terrible because the Titans were flung down to the planet, and their blood and their and all that stuff was making mutated creatures, if you remember that. And again, that's just another start. Just use all those elements there and put into that science fiction element. The difficult stuff, like I said, is when it comes to the weapons. How would you implement alien technology? Psionics is just totally alien.
Yeah.
So when I think about this, I can see why Gary was kind of opposed to psionics, because psionics is alien inferred pretty much if you look at some of the races from Star Trek. And I don't remember anyone in Star Wars that had alien, kind of said people that was good with the Force.
That was good with the Force?
Well, I mean that had that psionic ability. The Force could be psionic in nature.
Right. True.
That's how that all applies. That could be your psionic abilities. That's the Force in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea that I'm jotting down as we speak.
Say again?
Matt gave me a great idea that I'm jotting down as we speak, the whole Matrix concept. It reminded me of a TV show that NBC had that they canceled called Awake. I don't know if anybody saw that.
No.
I don't recall that.
Well, basically the premise was the guy was in one reality, his wife was dead and his son was alive. And the other reality, when he went to sleep and woke up.
Oh, yeah. I saw that on the computer and everything. I saw about it, yeah.
Yeah, his son was alive and his wife was dead. So he had to figure out which reality was which. And both realities intertwined for his investigations when he was a cop. So, and he didn't know which reality was real, so he had to keep putting different wristbands on his arm to figure out what reality he was in at what time. It's a really good concept, really badly implemented on the show. So,
oh, but see right there, and that's the whole point that I'm trying to make. If you're trying to make a science fiction game, you have to go back to everything that you have, witnessed before, you played before, that you have read before, and get a mishmash and then start writing down those notes. What would be great? Start with the basics and then just work yourself up and everything. How much fantasy do you want in there? How much science fiction do you want in there? So like I said, if you ask me personally, like I said, I would, remove the deity stuff and everything. I would remove that. The spell casting abilities, I would do it just like how they did the Techno Mages in Babylon 5. I thought that was just awesome. That was just extremely perfect in how they did the Techno Mages. That was, using the technology to weave the spells, and the spells were a computer program. There it goes. That's what I was trying to catch at. Matt, you never saw that episode?
No, I never really watched Babylon 5.
Yeah,
I have the RPG, but I've never actually watched an actual episode of it.
Right. And don't forget shows like Farscape,
Yeah.
Firefly.
Yeah, Serenity, I said.
Stargate.
Stargate. Oh, Stargate is perfect. That is another one. How do they travel from one place to another? Portals.
And there was also a role-playing game that was for D20s. You could easily translate backwards. So
there you go. I mean, there is so much out there that you can use, and just take and pick and choose, and then you know what? It'll all come naturally once you start getting the feel. Rule-wise, though, if you want to keep it to first edition, it's real simple to do that. First edition can't get no simpler than that. You know, just keep it at that simple level and just convert it over. I mean, when it comes to the weapons and the armor and all that, but I think we'll discuss that later on. But that's basically what my take is on the whole subject.
Okay, cool. Fire in those emails and tell us what you think.
You know what I would do also? If they do send emails, I want to hear what they have to say. What would they change? What would they take and how they would remove it?
I bet you'd see an answer to that on Facebook faster than you see an email.
Yeah, I like emails though because people actually get into it.
True.
Like that one guy last week that sent us that 3-page email.
Oh yeah. Tend to Creature Feature Theater next.
That is not dead which can eternal life, and with strange eons even death may die.
I welcome the unwary to the Creature Feature Theater.
Creature Feature Theater. That's all I have to say. Next segment. No, I'm kidding. What do we use for sci-fi for creatures? I mean, let's adapt some creatures, design some creatures, other than using the typical, oh, look, it's dinosaurs in the future. You know, let's take a seeing that. Come on.
Yeah.
Every time there's always a sci-fi thing with, like, futuristic, there's always dinosaurs. Why do they always pick dinosaurs?
Because they're big and have sharp, pointy teeth.
Yeah, that's why. Well, no, but we can revamp some older creatures, and obviously you could take the monster manual and just say any creature is still usable in the future. Just add some intelligence to it.
Right.
Give them a weapon, which we'll talk about later, and boom, there's a new creature for you.
Right. Or if you have star travel, give them their own planet.
Like Matt said, his own planet.
Yeah.
Well, you said you had some creatures you wanted to use.
Well, I mean, like I said, if I was to do anything, I would use the most ugliest, the most horrible, and the monsters that no one ever uses as let me give you an example.
Folio.
Yeah.
Well, the theme folio got some great monsters, but you know, a lot of monsters that people don't use are the plants. The plants that eat people or have poisons. They look like the tri-flower frond that's in the Monster Manual 2. A lot of these plants were also an expedition into the Barrier Peaks. Use a lot of the strange plant life, the plants that people don't ever use. Or aboleths. And aboleth, mind flayers, intellect devourers.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are aliens. Those are alien monsters.
Your aberrations are great for being alien.
Yeah. You would use all those crazy little things there. And you know, the Call of Cthulhu monsters. You know, I mean, they're alien and, you know, in background. Use them. It's kind of funny when you look at the expedition to the Barrier Peaks. And if people don't know, it was actually a spaceship that went around to different planets, picking up different types of monsters. Mm-hmm. And that's why you ran into all those monsters aboard that ship. I guess the ship crashed. There was an earthquake and it set it off and started letting all the monsters out. Like the belay. Mm-hmm. That wasn't even natural to that planet. The reason there's belays on that planet is because the ship let them go. And there was a mind flayer in there in an alien suit, and he was shooting weapons. He was actually using weapons.
And, of course, you can always use, what's my favorite creatures to use, Matt?
Pokemon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect for sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff. All you got to do is find something, and you know, it doesn't have to be well, honestly, for me, all my monsters would be grotesque and horrible and mutated looking, and you want them to do that. But again, they don't all have to be hostile.
Predator. We can use a predator.
Predator. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be great, like Alien or something. And I remember this stuff that a long time ago they converted that stuff to first edition. I don't know if you can find that online anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, because they used to call it the reticulum I can't remember what they call it anymore, but yeah, the reticulum something. I can't remember. But I remember there was something for first edition out. But monsters? Oh, yes, definitely. Spelljammer has tons of them. Go to all those other games that we was talking about, like Battlestar Galactica. Do you remember that space vampire?
Yes.
He was called a Vorvon, I think. A Vorvon?
I think so.
There
yeah.
you go. Use those creatures. Watch the old episodes and everything, or like the Ovions from Battlestar Galactica. The Vorvon was from Buck Rogers.
Oh, okay.
That space vampire, because I remember it attacked Wilma Deering or whatever her name was, and then the Ovions and the Cylons and everything from Battlestar Galactica. Take all that stuff, convert it over, give it a different name or something. It's so easy.
Go to
easy.
Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, there's lots of aliens in that one.
There was lots of aliens that they had to invent at the time for that.
Yeah, they really did. Some of them are corny. Like Star Wars had tons of them. They had so many aliens in there. It's crazy. I wouldn't be shocked. And you was talking about why is it always dinosaurs? This is where the Dark Crystal comes in. Put the characters. They crash land on a planet like the Dark Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm sorry. Say again.
And David Bowie attacks them. Sorry.
Oh, that
Labyrinth.
wouldn't be very good. Yeah. Or they crash land on a planet like the one. What was that movie that Tom Cruise was in where he was playing that fantasy guy? What was it called again? They had to save the unicorn.
Legend.
There it goes. Another prime example. And you know what? And it's kind of funny. Do you not remember when they killed that demon guy or whatever he was? Mm-hmm. Remember when he I guess, I don't know, he went to the university, blew up into a bunch of stars or something?
Yeah.
Right there. There's your science fiction element. Just have them crash. That's what I'm saying. You can easily do it, but you just got to use the right elements. Or Willow. God forbid. That would be hilarious. Oh, that would be so funny, Willow.
Well, it's not so... Well, yeah, well, I guess so.
Yeah, you just look at how they did all those monsters in there and everything. If you don't think of the older movies like Warlords from the Deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if that's an old movie. And again, like I said, it all depends on how you want to convert all these crazy monsters over. But use the plants. Dinosaurs, get away from the dinosaurs. That's overplayed.
Too Conan-ish.
Yeah, I don't care for that too much. And that's another option. That was excellent, Vince.
What?
Use the monsters from games like that, from the pulp games.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely from Conan, because those monsters are horrible.
Especially the Conan ones. Wow.
Yes, that was. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think about Conan until you just said it right now. Put them in that kind of environment. The characters. Yeah, that's excellent. I think that's perfect right there. That was excellent. That was a good. Use those monsters.
Definitely. Sci-Fi is the easiest game to rip off a monster from.
Oh yes, definitely. A War of the Worlds again. There's so many monster movies. Now I wouldn't do nothing like with the Blob. That would be a very hard monster to kill.
A gelatinous cube.
A very, very large gelatinous cube.
Yeah.
That thing's large.
Yeah. The fuck.
But you do bring up an interesting question. Why don't gelatinous cubes just leave the dungeon and go out and just eat everything else?
Because it can't fit out the door. I don't know.
It was just a thought. I would just wonder. Or green slimes.
A perfect movie that I just thought of with a really bad ending, but a perfect movie. Remember The Mist by Stephen King?
Oh, you know what? Excellent. That is an excellent movie. Use those kind of monsters.
They were bugs, but they were futuristic bugs.
Yep, exactly. Those things, and you know what? I would have no problem saying those things were alien, because that was like a Cthulhu-esque movie, and those creatures are that horrible.
Yeah. That scared the crap out of me, that movie, for a while.
The arachnoids from Starship Troopers.
Oh.
Yes, exactly. Take them and convert them over, and there you go. You got your alien monsters, and guess what? It's not dinosaurs.
And your better place to look at, we've never thought about this, but video games.
Yep.
Perfect example, Silent Hill.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one.
Mm-hmm. That's a perfect example of monsters that, futuristic monsters jumping out at you. Ooh, that game.
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, yeah, another one.
And you know what? EverQuest isn't bad either. If you get the EverQuest books, the RPG.
Evercrack.
Yeah, they got a ton of horrible monsters in there that are just devastating. Now, the hard part is converting them over. Well, not the hard part, but doing the armor and all that other stuff and everything. But I guess we got to still talk about that, don't we?
That's basically just a D20 conversion. That's all it really is. And you had that already.
Good to go.
Yeah, so there you go. Don't worry about getting everything perfect. Just eye it. Just put it in for your adventure. You know your players are level 4. Design a creature that they can handle or not handle. It's up to you. You're the DM. There's no balanced encounters in this game. Come on.
Or if you like a stat block of a monster, fine, steal that stat block, but describe him completely different.
Yeah.
It's really the description, not the raw numbers behind it that make it a sci-fi game.
Exactly.
You're right.
Draw it if you can. Commission someone to do something for you. There's tons of artists on, what is it, deviantart.com?
Yes.
That you can go and say, listen, I need some monsters drawn for my home game. Do you mind doing it? And they may even do it for free just to say that they did it. They may charge you. They may not. I don't know. But generally, a lot of those people I ran into, they'll be like, yeah, as long as you give me credit for it, you can have it for free. So they just want to get their artwork out there. There's your resources. Or wasn't there like Elfwood or something.com or Elfworld was another one, or I can't think of the website.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
ElfQuest? No, that's a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that ElfQuest is a game.
Anyway, all right, so let's head into Dragon's Horde.
As the secret portal yields to your efforts, you stand amazed at a vision from the most fevered dreams of avarice. Before you lies the Dragon's Horde.
Okay, we got Dragon's Horde now. We've talked about just about everything up to the point of what about weapons? Well, let's go over a few weapons. Obviously, we can get away from the traditional sword and shield, but you might want to use the shield. You never know. But swords, you can definitely take a traditional sword and just use it as what show was it? The cartoon that did that. The guy showed bolts out of his sword.
Trans or Z? That's a giant robot that shot all kinds of random things out of him.
I know there was one. You could change it to a pure energy sword, like a lightsaber, for example. That's one example. You can have swords shoot fire out of it and assign it a damage roll, maybe a D6, depending on what you want to do. But getting away from those things, let's get into more traditional things like guns. I know you're just like, ooh, guns. What's called the triple lasers and phasers. Mm-hmm. So let's look at a laser pistol, for example. They would do 2d8 points of damage. They have a magazine, which would be how many, let's say, shots it would have total, of 50 inside of it. And as a DM, you could decide how many the rate of fire, because, you've seen the TV shows and the movies, and not just going pew and they're waiting and waiting. You obviously some people go pew pew, take more than one shot. So as a DM, you could decide rate of fire is maybe 2 or 3. The person takes a minus because he's shooting into combat. Just think of arrows.
Yeah, I would treat laser pistols as the same as the arrows and just change the damage and then the rate of fire. And like the magazine, put like maybe 9-10 shots or however many you feel is appropriate. The magazine's basically the auto-loading quiver.
Yeah. There's also plasma guns, which is used in different series too. They're basically fire bolts of high charged particles, extremely deadly. They would do 2d10 points of damage because they're a little more deadly than the laser pistol, apparently. I'm reading here 30 shots per magazine, so that's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's more like an assault rifle.
And you can go to exotic weapons, which would be like the lightsaber or the psychic energy blade, as they called it in Gamers, the movie.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about how about hand-thrown things like grenades. You always got to have a grenade. Everybody wants a grenade. How would you do damage for a grenade? Well, I would think of it, a grenade damage is maybe like using a fireball blast or something. Mm-hmm. You throw it, it lands in a certain area, and boom, everyone in a certain range takes the damage. What, did you guys do it that way?
Yeah. I mean, that's how I would do it. Other than perhaps whoever's in that the target area takes the most damage, and as you get farther to the edge of the blast radius, maybe you take less. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely do that, because I mean, with grenade weapons, they get to save and throw to take half damage or whatever. And just like you said, if they're within a certain radius, yeah, they get more damage, while those that were further away take less, and then so on and so on. Yeah, you have your different types of grenades too, whether they're explosive or smoke or stun grenades or that
Fragment.
stuff. Oh yeah, fragmentation. Yeah, I don't like those.
And then for armor, you're wondering, well, it's laser, it's plasma. What about armor? Well, you have light body armor, which is adaptable to certain lasers and phasers, and you still use the same AC system of the 10 minus going down, and light body armor would be a 4 AC total. Mm-hmm. Medium body armor would be a 2. Heavy body armor would bring you down to a 0, and advanced armor, which would be like what they would wear in say Starship Troopers, for example, -2. And each armor would also give you a damage reduction as well.
Yes, that's actually what I was thinking as well. You would pretty much have to have it with the amount of increased damage everyone will be doing with their laser pistols or plasma rifles.
Or you do it this way. You say, all right, let's say like light body armor, for example, gives you an AC of 4, right? Let's go with that.
Yeah.
AC of 4, and it gives you a damage reduction of every time you take damage, -6 hit points off of it. Now, let's say the total amount this armor could take is 20. So every time you get shot, you take 6 points off that 20 until it gets down to 0, and the armor is useless. Right.
Yeah, it's similar to the SDC system from Palladium. They actually use that for their armor.
That's how I would do those armor systems in a futuristic game. I mean, I would think that D&D would probably do something like that if the rules went that way. Did they do that in the chainmail? Well,
what was that?
The damage reduction and the arm would fall apart or something?
Well, I mean, there were some rules that were, implied back then. I haven't done chainmail in a long time. Combat was done very different, per se, because what was that other game that we played back then that did that according to chainmail? Oh, it's been so long. You're talking about 30 years ago, Vince.
I know. All right, don't worry about it. When you think, just shout it out.
I'm thinking about it for a second. It's taking me some time to remember, but I haven't played that in 30-something years.
And then, of course, we can get into what we also cybernetics, like implants. Everybody's like, oh, it's sci-fi right there, Yeah. You have maybe a special implant in your arm that gives you more strength.
Yeah. You would just basically, you could just pull magic items out of the back of the DMG, say, okay, this gauntlet is actually a cybernetic hand.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Or that ring is like, a finger limb or something.
Right. The Eye of Vecna is still the Eye of Vecna.
The head of Vecna.
Yes, the head of Vecna.
I don't like that idea. That sounds very nasty.
The head of Vecna?
Yeah.
That was a Hackmaster joke, I think.
Oh, okay.
And
I think that's right, though. But I think that's what you said about the armor is spot on, that if they wear armor, it'd be resistant to certain things. And, just use your imagination when it comes to those weapons and everything, because, lightsabers or whatever, energy sticks, pain sticks like Klingons use.
True. Don't get me wrong about the light armor. Once the damage reduction is gone, it would just be treated as regular armor AC4. So if you got hit, you would just take the full damage. Not that your armor will go completely away. It's just that.
I might even have the armor go completely away, unless you do. That would encourage them to do maintenance on their armor to recover some of those lost.
Well, you want the damage reduction after every battle,
right?
I'm just saying in the middle of battle. So
okay. I was thinking, if it actually hits that low, it no longer. The way I would do it is, once it hits 0, it no longer works. It's no longer armor. It's just been shredded that much. So that way you want to make sure you're doing maintenance and you keep that high-tech armor working as best as possible in between every battle. It just makes it a little more lethal.
I would say that it would still be an AC of 4, but after the battle's gone, I would describe it as your armor's about to fall off. You might want to maintain that. Yeah. It's just a piece of metal hanging from a string now, pretty much.
So it's all female armor from like the mid-'80s?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you can have the armor like those things in Star Wars. What are those funny those robots that rolled around and had the force? No, they had the force field.
Oh, the
around
battle
them.
droids.
Yeah, see, now I like that where they have a deflector kind of like thing around them, but after it takes so much damage, some of it may bleed through, maybe depending on what hits it. But eventually, once it gets down to 0, that shield is gone. Guess what, bad boy? Your armor class is 9.
That's what this armor pretty much what I'm describing. And then,
okay.
Yeah, but except not 9. Then I would give it a higher damage reduction total. Instead of 20, I'd say 50.
Right.
Your way, and then once it hits the 50, boom, it's gone.
Yeah, like I said, you get the bracers of armor class of defense. Bracers of armor class 2 or 3. What those are more or less absorbers that they can absorb so much damage. Otherwise, it goes through you.
You're Wonder Woman, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or those bracers generate a small personal force field that just covers your body, and as you take hits, it weakens.
There you go, exactly.
And then you have your traditional guns, I forgot. Your rail guns, your bullet guns, things like that.
Yeah, and pretty much any wand that shoots out something can easily be converted to. It's a gun that does the same thing.
Oh my god, imagine a fireball gun.
Yeah. They kind of actually already exist. You can actually buy incendiary shotgun shells.
Really?
Yes, they're called a dragon's breath. And basically when you shoot them, it's like you shot out a giant fireball.
I guess you can't use those in the target range, huh?
No. You can go on YouTube and just search for, dragon's breath gun, and you will see some ridiculous things with those. Big, giant fireball.
I have to check that out. All right, well, we've given you some examples of weapons and damage for the future, as well as armament. And Will is giving you some great ideas, monsters and other things. Just take it and use it, and tell us what you've been doing for future games. I know a lot of people ask about what can we do for Sci-Fi-ish. I know, a perfect example was I ran a game at Gen Con 2010. Was it 11? I don't remember. I remember I invented this gauntlet up, and the players didn't know how to use it, obviously, because it's a future tech thing. And the gauntlet shot out a bolt of energy to their foes. Now, what I did was every time he hit, if he hit on the number, I'd have him roll a d4. And if he rolled a 3 or 4, nothing would happen. And he would just do punching damage. But if he rolled a 1 or 2, a bolt would come out and zap the whatever enemy. If he rolled higher, I would have him still roll a d4, but the bolts would go from one person to the next person to the next person, doing more and more damage each time. So it was kind of a fun thing to do. So I guess that's going to wrap the show up for this week, guys.
Yep.
Awesome. Good show.
Definitely. We'll be back next week with more fun and more Will.
No, only, let's see, there's 4 of us, only 25% Will.
25% Will next time.
Since Will says takes up 75% of the time.
Yes.
I know he was joking. I know he's messing around. I just have so much I can say.
All right, cool. So rfistaff@gmail.com, rfipodcast.com is our rfipodcast.com is our website. Wizard Gaming /forums. Join the forums, chat it up with all our wonderful people there. That's all I can think of. Oh, hotline 570-865-4210, the RFI hotline, and call us, write us, smoke signal us, or contact us on Facebook. Yep. See you later.
Good night.
See y'all later.
Roll for initiative.